Hey guys, Trevor with Shadow Systems. It's Technical Tuesday, and today we're going to answer some questions around our product line. What is MR? What is DR? What is Elite? What is Combat? We'll walk through that right now, and hopefully that'll help you guys out. Okay, so I've got basically 4 guns on the table that are kind of representative, okay? Understand that there are different permutations possible, but I think this should answer most of the question. Okay, so there are basically 2 frame sizes. There is the MR size frame, which is a 15+1 9mm. This one is in flat dark earth. It happens to have the magwell on. The magwell is removable. And then you have the DR size frame. The DR size frame is a 17+1 9mm. So you got 15 and 17, all right? So the DR would be considered a true full-size frame, a true full-size handgun, and the MR would be more in like that compact class of handgun, okay? The term, or the designation MR is for multi-role. I think most folks that are kind of aware of what's out there in the market would agree that that 15+1 9mm size gun is a multi-role platform. They work well as duty pistols. You can EDC them. It's a great home defense gun. I mean, it's in a size class that really covers a lot of bases and is still very shootable. So MR, multi-role, okay? The DR is duty role, and that's really who it's for. So Shadow Systems has a growing presence in the law enforcement market. We're very excited about that. And the DR frame is geared more toward those who have larger hands or appreciate the additional capacity, or just want a full-size pistol, okay, so with a longer sight radius. Okay, so MR and DR really refers to the frame size, okay? So let's now talk about the different pistols themselves. We have the MR 920. The MR 920 would be like this gun or like this gun. Again, these are 15+1 guns with a standard kind of 4-inch barrel and available in threaded or unthreaded and so forth, but compact handgun. MR 920. The MR 920L, my favorite. The MR 920L has the full-length slide on that 15+1 frame. So it is a longer gun, okay? The grip size is the same, but the sight radius is longer and the slide is longer, all right? Why? Well, most folks that carry every day would tell you that the hardest part of the gun to conceal is the butt, right? So that's what sticks outside your belt, assuming you're carrying IWB. So the longer that the grip is, the more it's going to print underneath your clothing. That's why this size class of frame really shines. It's just the right length to where you get really good concealment, but pretty substantial capacity. Well, we added that longer slide though because it does make the gun more shootable, and we've done some video before about that. 920L is my favorite because it is a super flat shooting gun that shoots like a full size, carries like a compact. In my opinion, we did really well with that one. It's a fun gun to shoot. So MR 920. MR 920L, okay? And then we talked before, DR 920, full-size handgun. Okay, what do the numbers mean? All right, so the first number is 9 is the caliber. So the MR 920 would be a 9mm caliber handgun. The DR 920 would be a 9mm caliber handgun. If it was a MR 320, maybe that's gonna be a 357 SIG some point in the future. Right now, all the guns are 9mm though, okay? The 20 is basically the year of design. That's the designation for sort of the year of design, and that really represents kind of the feature set that's incorporated into the gun as a whole, okay? All right, now let's talk about slides. So when it comes to slides, we have essentially 3 primary versions of the slide, whether it's a DR, MR, okay? So we have what we call a combat slide, and the base combat slide just has iron sights. So an MR 920 combat is going to be a 15+1 9mm with the 4-inch barrel and a set of just regular dovetailed sights with a night sight front. Okay. The combat optic is that same slide that also incorporates Shadow Systems' proprietary optic system. So the combat slides are usually easy to see because they don't feature any window cuts here, right? They're just kind of a more slab-sided slide with front and rear serrations, no top serrations, no window cuts, okay? But it does have everything else that would be, on the Elite version. So you have the front and rear directional serrations, the optic cut, and then the internals for a combat or an Elite are the same. So it's the same trigger pull, it's the same parts, it's the same magwell, all those kinds of things are the same. Okay, so combat and combat optic. Okay, then you have the Elite slides. Now the Elite slides are all optic slides. Again, it's our proprietary optic system, which fits a majority of the major brands on the market with really, really long screws that go to the bottom of the slide. Still, I think the strongest optic cut in the industry. Okay, I'm biased, but I think it is. So this gun always has an optic cut on it. The Elite guns always have optic cuts. And you can see there's a cover plate there in the rear. In this case, it should be easy to see on the flat dark earth slide. That cover plate is covering the optic cut. You can use the sights normally if you choose to not mount an optic later. This sight height and optic depth are optimized to give you co-witness, a really nice co-witness with, again, most of the brands out there, all right? So if I said DR920 Elite, that's going to be a gun that looks like this. It's a 17 plus 1.9mm frame with an Elite slide on it that has an optic cut, window cut. Okay. If I said MR920 Elite, again, it's going to be basically the same slide we just looked at, but this time on an MR frame. And if I said MR920 Combat Optic, that's going to be a 15 plus 1.9mm handgun with a flat sided slide, no window cuts, no top serrations. Okay. Really quick, just on the features on the slides, we'll talk about it just because I think it might be interesting for some folks. So our serrations are directional. What that really means is we have a bevel on the back of the serration. So when the gun is coming out of a holster in this direction, there's virtually no resistance. But when you're going in this direction, as though you were racking the gun, there's a substantial amount of resistance. So it just means a little smoother draw with plenty of grip when you actually need it when you're racking the slide, okay? Front and rear serrations, we recess them a little bit, makes the slide feel a little thinner. We also thin the front profile of the slides too. This is for combats and Elites. All the slides have that same profile. We thin the front profile of the slide and we knock the corners off. Reason being, it is, in our experience, the most dangerous thing you do with a handgun is reholster it. And for most folks that are carrying IWB, that's what a lot of these guns are for. Having a thinner front profile of the slide makes it much easier and safer to get the gun started. The blockier, wider, fatter sections of gun, sections of slide in the front make it a little more difficult to get the gun started into a holster. And this is just a way of giving you a little bit more control when you're reholstering. It also, in my opinion, makes the gun feel better. It's a nice thin profile in the front, takes a little bit of weight out of the slide, which is cool too. Okay. So then we talked about the optic cut. The slides are all machined out of 17.4 stainless steel. We do use a nitride treatment, so it's a surface treatment that makes them super hard, very smooth. The parts run very smoothly together, and it's got great corrosion resistance. The bronze barrels are a titanium carbonitride, so this finish is just kind of a more premium finish. It still has great properties, probably not quite the corrosion resistance, but the same kind of wear resistance. It's used a lot in tooling. You'll see a lot of drill bits and things that are either kind of a gold titanium nitride or a bronze titanium carbonitride. Okay. The only other comment, I guess, would just be around, what other features are on the Elite slide. You got a window, weight optimizing window cut, and you've got top serrations on the slide. So why would I choose Elite over Combat or Combat over Elite? Look, I think sometimes people look at slides like this that have windows on them and they think, oh, well, that means we're going to get debris in there and it's going to cause malfunctions. And okay, I'm going to just remind everybody that, the Beretta 92, which is what armed, the United States military for 23 years or something, has a window the whole way, right? So the whole slide is a window. I mean, there are other guns out there that have windows that are well-respected combat handguns. So the point is, don't look at these slide cuts and automatically assume, well, that's just racy stuff or whatever. It's really not. The guns are super hard use, reliable tools, and that window cut just takes a little bit more weight out of the slide. Most people would say that a combat slide is going to be a little bit more a little more sluggish, maybe feels a little softer, but the sight to sight or the shot to shot recovery is not quite as fast. For an elite slide like this with a little less weight in it, I think most people find that they tend to recoil a little flatter. You might feel a little more impulse coming your way, but they tend to be flatter shot to shot. So it's just kind of a personal preference thing. All right. So I hope that kind of clarifies some of it. I know I went a little bit deep on some of that. I just get excited about it. But the the MR is a 15+1. The DR is a 17+1, and then you've got elite and you've got combat dovetail and combat optic slides. Okay. All right. As always, ask questions. Put your what you want to see in future videos in the comments, and we'll do it for you. And we'll see you next week.